Okay, good evening, everyone. So in the last class, we have seen like how to create the EC2 instance, right? But already we created Windows and Linux, both EC2 instances. But what type of purchasing model we have selected? Or what type of tenancy model we have selected? That is operating system, right? So in the EC2 instance, we discussed that there are three types of purchasing models available, right? What are those? On-demand, dedicated, and dedicated host. So which one we selected, or what kind of purchasing model that EC2 instance got created? Okay, and then coming to the tenancy model, we have three types of the purchasing model, we have a on-demand, spot, and reserved. In the tenancy model, we have a shared, dedicated, and dedicated host. So which type of purchasing model was selected and which type of tenancy model was selected? Because as far as I remember, we didn't selected any purchasing model or any tenancy model, right? So here the question is, by default, what type of purchasing model was selected? Or what type of tenancy model will be selected by default? By default, on demand will be selected for the purchasing model, and the tenancy model, by default, it will be shared tenancy model. Okay, so in the next step, we will see like how to create a spot instance and how to change the tenancy model. That we can see in the next step. Okay, so in the last session, we have created the Linux instance and we have seen how to access the Linux EC2 instance using the putty tool, right? And also I mentioned that there is one more method to log in called EC2 instance connect, right? So that we will see how to use that. Log into the Linux instance using the EC2 instance connect method. So before checking this, in the SSH client model, we have to use some kind of a tool called putty tool. And to log in using the SSH client, we need the public IP address, we need the username, and we need a private key instead of password, right? That's what we have selected. And from where we will get the private key? Username and the IP address we will get from the AWS console, from the AWS account itself. And from where we will get the private key? By using the puttygen, we can generate the private key from the key pair that already we have seen in the last session. So here, what exactly we need to log into the Linux instance using the EC2 instance connect option? We don't need anything. Just we need to log in with a user who has some permissions on the EC2 service. So this is our Amazon account. Log in with your root user or any user with the required permissions on EC2 service and go to EC2 and click on instances. And this is our Linux machine. So here is a public IP and username. We know it is a EC2-user, right? But here we are not using the putty tool or something to log in. Just we are trying to log in using EC2 instance connect. For that, you have to select your Linux instance. Click on connect button here. Then you can see the first tab itself, EC2 instance connect. Click on that. Make sure that the username is the correct. What is the username for Amazon Linux 2? EC2-user. Make sure that here the correct username got entered. And then click on connect. So that you will be able to log into the Linux machine using the browser itself. So just wait for 2 minutes. So you can see it got logged in. So no need to use any tool, no need to enter any password. Without providing any password, how we were able to log in? By using the AWS IAM user or any user with which you log into your Amazon account. So here I log in with the root user, right? So as a root user, I can log into the Linux machine. This is only possible for the Linux instances. You cannot log into the Windows machines by using the browser. So this is the easiest way that we can log into the Linux computer. Sorry. So now in the last session or in the last few sessions, whenever you create the EC2 instance, for the network purpose, for the security reason, we have one security group attached to your EC2 instance, right? Depending on the Windows or Linux, we have created some rules so that whenever the user is trying to log in, his request will be allowed or denied whether to enter into the computer or not, right? So this is the Windows EC2 instance we created for the first time, right? And every EC2 instance requires a security group. And if you remember, we have given a name to the security group called Windows RDP. And what rule we have written here? We opened a RDP protocol, which is going to run on 3389 number. And that has to be allowed from anywhere, right? This is the rule what you can find out in that particular security group. I will do one thing, just quickly, I will open that security group. Whatever the security group we have attached to this particular EC2 instance. Let us say this is the Linux EC2 instance we are using. Now I got a question like, what is the security group attached to this EC2 instance at the time of creation? Because let us say it was created like 1 month back. So there is no chance that I can remember all the security group names and everything, right? So someone asked that, what are the rules mentioned in the security group? Because this we created yesterday, so I can remember what is the security group name. But how can we know that? What are the security groups attached to this EC2 instance? Whenever you select your EC2 instance, here you can see some information about your EC2 instance, right? So if you click on the details tab, first you can see the instance ID. That is a unique identification of your EC2 instance, which is assigned by Amazon. And this is the public IP address. And this is the private IP address. And you can see instance is running. And this is the public DNS. What is the DNS? Domain name, which is equivalent to the IP address. That means if I enter this particular domain name, that name will be connected to this particular IP address automatically. If you use this name will always points to this particular IP address. And then here you can see instance type. Every information about your EC2 instance will be available in this particular place. This is your instance type, T2.micro, which is the free tier eligible. And then this is the VPC, but we don't know what is the VPC, right? So VPC is just a network, ignore for now. And then here you can see one more tab called security. Click on the security tab. You can see what is the security group attached to that particular EC2 instance. What is the name of the security group? Linux space SSH. And if you scroll down, you can see the rules what exist in that particular security group also. Or directly we can go to a different place and we can open the security group and you can check what are the rules available also. And if you go for networking, you can see the IP address information. If you click on storage tab, how many storage devices got connected to your EC2 instance? Everything you can check here. And if you click on monitoring, you can see you can monitor the utilization of your EC2 instance. What is the CPU utilization and how much network is coming in, how much network is going out. Every information will be available in this monitoring tab. So now we have a security group called Linux SSH, which got connected to our Linux server. Now I would like to open that security group and I would like to check what were written in that particular security group. So on the left side of the EC2 service, if you scroll down further, there is one module called network and security, right? Under the network and security, there is one option called security groups. If you click on the security groups, you can see the list of security groups available on your Amazon account. So you can see the last one, which is the default. That means by default that will be created and that is available. And this is the security group which was created at the time of Windows instance creation. And this is the security group which is attached to the Linux server which is running now. Right? So now I would like to see what are the incoming rules created and outgoing rules written in that particular security group. So click on the security group ID. So it will open the security group and you can see two different tabs, inbound rules and outbound rules. What is the inbound rules means? These rules will define the incoming traffic to be allowed or denied. It will decide, let us say you are trying to log into the Linux server. These rules will define that whether you are able to log in or not. Okay, let me show you the things. If you scroll down, here you can see there is only one inbound rule, right? What is the rule? Type is SSH, protocol is TCP, port range is 22, and the source is 0000/0. What is the meaning of that? Okay, let me write down that so that you can get some clarity. So we have a security group. We have a security group. In that security group, what are the fields we have? The first one is what we call that. If I click on edit inbound rules, let me show one thing. So first one is a type, then protocol, then port range, source, and then description. These are the values we have. And if you see the first one, type is SSH. And one second. Protocol is TCP. And the port range is 22. And the source is, it is selected as custom 0.0.0.0/0. Let me cancel. So this is the rule created in the security group of your EC2 instance. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? Any guess? First, what indicates that 0000/0? What is the meaning of this? IP address. What it indicates? Public IP address. No, not private. This indicates all IP addresses. Whenever you see 0000/0, which indicates all IP addresses. Almost there are like 16 billion IP addresses. This indicates all IP address. So first, what is the meaning of this particular rule? Because these are some basic kind of things. If we don't understand this, that will be a little bit difficult going forward. What exactly this rule means? This is an incoming rule, right? Inbound rule. That means this rule will decide the incoming traffic. So here, let us say, in this case, this user, let us say this is this user's public IP address is 11.12.13.14. So he is trying to log into the Linux machine, not Windows, let us say Linux machine. And his home IP address is this one. Now, whenever this user is trying to log into the EC2 instance, a request will be sent to the Linux server. How the request will be, he is using the PuTTY tool. So the protocol will be SSH protocol and 22 port. And this is called as source. From this particular source IP address, this user is trying to log into the Linux machine. Whenever this user send a request, first that will go to the security group. In the security group, this incoming request will be validated. Based on the rule, this request will be allowed or denied. How it will be allowed is, so here there is one rule, right? And what is the rule type? SSH. And the user is also trying to access on SSH. Okay. Then protocol is a TCP. Almost every request is TCP, but there are few applications, especially some networking devices, They use old type of a protocol called UDP. But always we will use TCP only. And the SSH is on 22 port, right? And the user request is also sending on 22 port. Up to here, everything is matching. What is the meaning of this rule is, whatever the rules you write in the security group, that rule will allow the traffic based on some conditions. What is the condition here? If the request is coming from this particular source. If, let us say, some user is trying to log in on these protocols, and if the user's IP address belong to this particular network, then only the request will be accepted. And the 00 indicates all IP addresses, right? So this user's IP address is 11.12.13.14. What is the meaning of that? This 11.12.13.14 belongs to all IP addresses, so that the user will be accepted. Or I can say this one. So what is this /32 is? /32 stands for single IP address. If you use /24, /16, that indicates a group of IP addresses. Whenever you see /32 after the IP address, that indicates a single IP. In this case, am I able to log into the Linux machine? Yes. Why or how? Okay. What is the meaning of this rule is, if the request for SSH traffic is coming from this IP address, then only the request will be allowed. So to identify whether am I able to log in or not, first I need to know what is my IP address. What is this computer's public IP, right? So there is an easy way. Just you can open the Google and you can type what is my IP. What is my IP? You can go to whatismyip.com. They will show you your IP address. So here you will get your IP address. Okay, it seems it is not detected. Okay, let me go for another site. So this is my IP address. This is my IP address. If I try to access anything, the request will go from this particular IP address. This is this particular network's public IP. But what is the rule here? If the request is coming from this particular IP address, then only it will be allowed. But I am sending from a different IP address, so I will not be accessed. If I do like this, if the rule is like this, then what will happen? I can log in only from this location. If I go to my home and if I try to log in, I will not be allowed. Because whenever you send any request, your request will be sent by including your IP address, and there will be a lot of details. Your request will contain from which port you are sending, like source IP address. This is the source IP address. What is the meaning of a source? From where you are initiating the traffic. Okay. So I do one thing. Already we tried to log into this machine, right? Linux computer. So now what I do is, the next step, modify the security group of the Linux instance to allow the SSH connection only from this IP address. Modify the security group of the Linux instance to allow the SSH connection only from the 183.82.125.5/32 or whatever your IP address is that you can mention. Okay, so first we need to identify what is the security group attached to the Linux instance and what is the name of the security group. So we have used Linux SSH. This is the security group name. So we need to modify this particular security group. At the time of creating the security group, what we have done is we are allowing all the traffic from anywhere across the globe. Even if you go to your house and if you open the putty tool and if you try to access, it will be accepted. But because you don't have a private key, you cannot log in, but you will be able to communicate. So now let us modify this. So to modify that, what we have to do is go to the EC2 service. Go to your EC2 service. Whenever you click on the service EC2, you will get this page, right? Then on the left side, click on the security groups under the network and security. Click on the security groups under network and security. And click on your security group, which you would like to modify the rules. This is the one I would like to modify. Click on this one. And once you click, here you can see one option called Edit Inbound Rules. And make sure that you selected the Inbound Rules tab and then click on Edit Inbound Rules. I will delete the rule. Let's create a rule. So how to create is click on Add Rule and type what is the purpose of this particular security group to allow the SSH traffic from a specific IP address, right? So no need to remember the port numbers also. In the type, if you scroll down, you can select SSH. Automatically, it will give you the port number of that particular protocol. And in the source, here you can see there are 3 different options available, right? What is my IP? If I select my IP, automatically it will detect what is my IP address. Automatically it will detect. Or if you see anywhere. So this is anywhere IP version 4. This is enough. But the latest version is the IP version 6, which is not required as of now. And there is one more option called custom. What is this custom? Let us say you would like to allow your office IP address. And I am not in the office, right? Let us say your office IP address is something like this one. Then you can type the IP address manually and you can click on Save Rules. If I click on Save Rules, what will happen? What will happen? Am I able to log in from this location? No. We will do this first. We will try to log in using the putty tool. Then we can modify this to my IP. Then we can check the login connection also. Just let me try to modify the rule with the wrong IP address to make sure that we cannot log in. So to log in, what I have to do, I have to check where exactly this IP address is. And I need to go to that particular location. And from there, I need to log in. Okay, but anyways, here we have, let me close this. Let me open the EC2 service because we need the public IP address, right? So let me get the public IP address of the EC2 instance. This is public IP. And let me open the putty tool. Enter the IP address. And on the left side, expand the SSH. Select the authentication. Click on Browse. And select your key pair. Private key, not key pair. Private key and click on Open. So generally here, it should ask your username, right? But here, to ask the username, your request is not received by the EC2 instance. When it will ask the username, if I am able to communicate with the server, then the server will ask you to provide the username and the password. Connection timed out. That means my request is unable to receive by the EC2 instance. So here to make sure that we can log in as per our actual requirement, you can select the custom and you can type the IP address manually, or you can select my IP. So automatically it will pick your IP address. Then click on Save Rules. Now what will happen if I open the putty tool and try to log in? I will be able to connect. Let me expand it. Authentication. And let me select the key, private key. Okay, let me increase the font size. Because my request is received by the EC2 instance and I'm getting this particular confirmation message, click on accept. and I need to type the username. So we got login. So every communication is based on security group. If you do some mistake in the security group, your request will not be received by the server. Simple thing, let us say you are using a mobile phone. So if someone is trying to call you and if your plan got expired, then nobody will be able to reach you, right? Or let us say you have a house, and if you lock the door completely, nobody can enter into your house. So you have to open the doors to enter into your house, right? In the same way, to receive or to enter any request to your EC2 instance, you have to open the appropriate ports using the security group rules. Okay, so these rules can be required for any instance. We cannot create any EC2 instance without security group. It can be a Windows or it can be a Linux. The security group is a mandatory. Okay, right. So now what we do is, already we have one Linux server, right? So this time I would like to install some kind of a simple website. I would like to host a simple website, so that based on that, we can use that particular concept to create our own Amazon machine image. So here what we do is, let us create one Linux server, Linux EC2 instance, and host a simple website. Any website you can, like, that doesn't matter. Whatever the web server you choose, that doesn't matter. Already we have the Linux instance, right? So I will skip this part and just I will show you like how to host a simple website. So first thing, to maintain a website, what exactly we need? Let us say you have a simple HTML web page. What exactly we need to maintain that website, and so that anybody can access the website from anywhere? Website we don't design, right? The developers will give you the website, and our responsibility is to host that website and the website to be accessible all the time. Assume that your developer gave you the website pages. These are the web pages. It can be a single page website or a complex website, that doesn't matter. How can we maintain that website to be accessible? If I place the web page in my computer, is that a kind of a website? Or if I place the web pages in my mobile phone, that will be available as a website? No. Any website can be hosted using a web server. There are different types of web servers available. So depending on the web page, you have to select the web server, like a PHP web server, like a not PHP. We have to use Apache or Tomcat or IIS. There are different types of web servers available. So web server is nothing but a kind of a software. So to install this software, what we need? Where we have to install the software? We need some operating system, right? We need some operating system. And to install this operating system, you need some kind of a storage, hard disk. And then you need some CPU and RAM. And then you need some kind of a power supply and networking, like public IP, private IP, and all the things, right? In the EC2, you will get these things with the help of EC2 service. So by using the EC2 service, you can create all this entire architecture. On top of that, you have to install the web server. And as we have planned to use the Linux operating system, I will go with the Amazon Linux 2. And then we need to install the web server. On top of that, we have to place a web page. And we are not a developer, so we will use a simple web page which will show some simple message like welcome to Naresh IT or something, like a kind of a text message. Okay, so already we have this Linux, right? Now how to install this web server? How to install that web server? And here we are going to install a web server called HTTPD web server. So what I do is, first we will list out all the commands, because Linux we have to use the commands to install. Just we will see the commands. So first step is we have to log into the Linux instance. We have to log into the Linux instance. And then what we have to do? Install all pending updates. What is the command for that? Whatever I have written using this symbol, that is some kind of a description. That is not a command. How to install all pending updates? We have to use yum update. But this will give you some error, like you need to be root user. So for that reason, we will use a sudo command. Once you update that particular repository, what we have to do is install the HTTPD web server. That is the web server which can host your website. For that, the command will be sudo space yum install HTTPD. So here yum is the repository. Like if you are using an Android phone, from where you can download all the applications from the Play Store, right? In the same way, for the Linux machines, there are different repositories available. These Debian operating systems will use the yum repository. From this repository, this particular service will be installed. Once it got installed in the Linux, the service will not start automatically. If the service is starting, then only that particular web server will be running. I mean, once you install, you have to run this service. So what we have to do is, we need to start the HTTPD service. For that, we have to use the command called sudo space service HTTPD start, so that the HTTPD service will be started. And let us say, if you would like to check the status, that whether the service is running or not. So we have to use a command called the same command, but instead of a start, we have to use the command called status. So you can see the status of your web server, whether it is running or not. Not only on Linux, anywhere, whatever the softwares you install, that software must be in running state. So simply, I will show you in the Windows, because in the Windows, it is a graphical user interface, right? So we can see that. See here, right now, we are using a lot of services, right? Right. So these all are the services installed on my computer. And you can see, I will show you one thing. I would like to show you some known service. Okay, there is one VPN service available, right? And what is the status? Running. If it is running, then only I can use it. If it is not running, I cannot, nobody can use that particular service. Even here also, you can see something like different services are running. Whatever the services are running, only I can use that. This you can see Microsoft Office, MS Word or something, right? It is running, so I can use it. But by default, in the Linux, no service will be started automatically. You have to start it manually. And whenever you reboot the computer, the service will not start automatically. So who will take care of that? The service to be started automatically. So for that reason, what we do is we will configure the HTTPD service to be started automatically. We call that as startup type as automatic. Like if you reboot your computer, the service will be automatically started. Even the same concept is available in Windows also. If I open the same services page again, you can see there is one thing called startup type, right? This, I think it will not zoom. Only browser I can zoom browser or notepad. Okay, so here there is one thing called startup type. There are few things called manual, disabled, and automatic. Whatever the services startup type is automatic, they will be started automatically whenever I start my computer. Otherwise, the other services won't start. So here, the web server must be started automatically whenever you restart or stop and start your EC2 instance. Otherwise, the website is not accessible. For this, we have a command called sudo space chkconfig httpd on. What it will do is, it will check the configuration of the httpd service to be on always. That is the meaning of this command. So if you install all these commands, then your web server will be ready. So you have to place your web page in a particular folder. Then the website is accessible by anybody from anywhere across the globe. Okay. So now what we are going to do is, so here, this is our EC2 instance, right? Already this EC2 instance got created and already it has one security group, right? And we open the 22 port only from my IP address. Okay, right. So now let us install the website and let us host the website. First, we need to install the web server, and the web page must be placed in a specific folder. In a particular location, we have to place. In which folder we have to place is, that depends on what type of web server you are using. For this, there is a location called, I can say place, or we are not placing, we are creating our own, right? Create the web page index.html in the location called var www.html. This is the directory. What is this directory means? What is this? Okay, so even in your Windows also, you will have the location path, right? But that will start with C:/D drive, E drive, F drive. That depends on your thing. Okay, I will show you here. So if I open this and if I click on here, this is the path of this particular folder. C users, desktop, AWS, something, right? In the same way, in the Linux also, for every directory will have a path. If I create on the desk, if I create a file in the desktop, what is the meaning of that? This file is getting created in particular location. What is the location? Desktop. In the backend, it has some path, C drive, /users, /my username, / desktop. Directly you can see here, right? But if you go to the actual path, so you have to go to the C drive, users folder, username, and desktop. So here you can see all the files. This is the actual location of your particular folder. In the same way, the Linux, what we call the Linux directories will be in this way. This / is like your C drive. This / is like your top directory, your hard disk. In our Windows, we have a C drive. In the Linux, we will have this one. So how to create, like first, let us say if I ask you to create one folder, no, not folder. If I ask you to create one file in the My Documents folder, how to create? I have a requirement to create some file in the My Documents folder. If I create here, is it going to be created in the My Documents folder? No, that will be created on this location. So to create any file in a particular location, first you have to go to that particular location. Where is that? In the C drive. Go to the users, username, and somewhere here you can see the documents. If I create, then only the file will be located in the documents folder. Or I have one folder in the C drive called test. I have a requirement to create or to place one image file in the test folder. So if I create on the desktop, that will not be placed in the folder, right? What I have to do? I have to go to C drive, Then I need to find out where is the test folder, and I need to create here. So in the same way, to place or to create your web page into the web server, first we have to navigate to this particular folder. How to navigate? What is the command? We will use a command called cd. CD stands for change directory. By default, you will be in one directory. By using the command called cd, you will be going to a different directory, and you have to give the path of that particular directory. Technically, we call it as a directory, but in general, we call it as a folder, right? Folder is nothing but a directory. You have to go there, and then you need to create that particular web page or something. How to create? What is the command to create a file? What is the command? There are different commands. You can use nano, you can use vi, right? I will use a command called vi, but before that, you must use the command called sudo, because you are creating something. Sudo space vi space index.html. And if you press enter, it will open a file. So you can write whatever you need. You can write whatever you need. And then how to save the file, how to close the file, because you don't get any graphical user interface. Everything will be the command lines only. So once you type all the data, okay, before that, once you open that, you have to press I. You need to press I. What is that? Is I stands for insert mode. Insert. That means you can insert some data into the file. Then you can type all the data, whatever you need, and then press escape button. Escape. Then type $WQ. Write and quit. That whatever the data you have typed here, that will be written into this particular file, and then it will quit. That means it will close. Even if I click on close button here, it will ask me, would you like to save it or not, right? If I click on this, it asks save or don't save. If I click on save, that will be saved. The same thing. It will be, the data will be saved, and then the file will be closed. Then your website is ready. Then the website is ready. But still, we cannot access the website. That we will see once we prepare the entire machine. Okay. Right. So first thing, already we got created our Linux server. So the thing is, we need to log in. So to log in, we have to use the public IP. Let me open the putty tool. And here we need to type the public IP address. On the left side, expand the SSH and select authentication. Browse your private key file. And let me increase the font size for better visibility. And for you, this is not required. Click on open. And it is asking me to enter the username. Now I am logging in as EC2-user. If I enter the correct private key, then we can log in. If you enter a wrong private key, you will get an error. If you don't attach the private key, then you will get a different error called no support authentication method available. Okay, right. So once it is done, we have, what is the first command we have to do? We need to update the repository. So for every command, I will use the sudo in front of that, and the actual command will be yum space update. So what is the message? There is no pending updates available. Okay, then what is the next step? We need to install the web server. The command will be yum space. What we are doing, we are trying to install HTTPD. That is the software which act as a web server. By using that, you can run HTML websites, basic HTML websites. Click enter, and then it is downloading. And now it is asking for your confirmation to install. So if you would like to install, press Y and click enter. Now the software got installed. The HTTPD software got installed. And I said that by default, the service will not start automatically, right? So we have to start it manually. Before starting, what I do is I will check the status of the service, whether it is running or not. The command will be service space HTTPD status. Just we are checking, right? For checking, not required. If you are doing some modification, then sudo command is required. So what is the service status? Which is not running. So we need to start the service manually. Service HTTPD start. Have you got any error here? No error. But to make sure that, we will check that whether the service got started or not. So what is the command? Service HTTPD status. If you press enter, you can see that the service is running. But if you reboot the computer, the service will not start automatically. We have to start that service manually. Or whenever you're doing the practical, you can check that. At this stage, reboot your EC2 instance. Again, you can see the status of the service is inactive. So every time the system got restarted, we cannot start it manually, right? That's why what we do is we will use a command called chkconfig. Chkconfig, like kind of check configuration, HTTPD on. Okay, what is the reason? It seems failed to execute the operation. We missed that sudo part. Whenever you're doing the modification, you must use the sudo. Now there is no error. So if you reboot the computer also, this service will automatically start it. Once you install the web server, that web server will be ready with a default homepage. There will be a default website. So how to test that is you can copy the IP address, and if you type that, you will get a default homepage, but still it is trying to load. Any guess why? Or I will do one more thing. Instead of the homepage, we will create our website page index.html. Then we will check whether the website is accessible or not. So what is the next step? Up to here, we are completed, right? We need to create our web page in this particular directory. So how to check that in which directory right now I am in? P, what is the meaning of that PWD? Present working directory. So right now I am in this particular location, in this particular directory. That means if I create some files here, those files will be available in this particular location. But where we would like to create the files? /var www and html. If you place the web page in this particular location, then only the web server will identify your web pages. Otherwise, it cannot detect which website you are hosting. Click enter. And before creating the web page, use the command called pwd. Just to make sure that you are in the correct directory and you are creating your web page in the correct directory. So once you are in the specific directory, use the command called sudo space vi space index.html, because the web pages will be in the HTML or HTML, PHP, right? Different formats depending on your web server. Just we are creating a simple HTML web page. Click enter. And here you have to press I. You can see insert mode, right? That means you can type any data here. Then to save this particular file, press escape. Then you cannot see the insert mode here. Once the insert mode gone, press colon. Press colon. You can see this one. Like you have to press shift and that particular button beside the L. WQ. Click enter. So the website is ready. So you can type LL and you can see there is the index.html located in that particular folder. That means your web page got created. So now we are done with your web server and the web page, but whenever you type the IP address, what is the IP address? Public IP. You are unable to open the web page. Any guess? Any guess? Why? I can confirm that we installed the web server in a proper way and we placed our web page also in the correct location and everything is correct. There is no issues from the installation part or the website hosting part. So what might be the reason why the users are unable to access your website? Any guess? Okay, so this is the EC2 instance, right? So here you hosted your website. The website is running. And here there is a security group. And in the security group, we opened the 22 port from my IP address. So whenever I'm trying to log in, like using the SSH client, I will be allowed, right? Because the 22 port is open for my IP address. Now, the users are trying to access the website which is hosting on this particular server. Now, the question is, on which port the user is sending the request? Okay, or in a different way, on which protocol the website is running? On 22 port? On which port the websites are running in general? 80 port and 443 ports. 80 is HTTP and 443 is HTTPS. That means if this user opens the browser and if he type the IP address or the domain website name, the request will be sent on 80 port, right? And the request will go to the security group and there is no rule for the 80 port. So this request will be dropped. This request will not be entered into your EC2 instance. So to allow the access to your websites, what we have to do? This one. If I change this to 0000, what will happen? All IPs will be allowed for which traffic? Only for 22 traffic. Okay. 1 second. Give me a second. Okay, so this is the security group rule we have, right? So you are suggesting that we have to go in this format, right? You are suggesting that we need to create in this way. But if you are trying to access the website, on which protocol you are sending the request? Okay, TCP protocol, but on which port? 80. But what this rule will do? This rule will not allow 80 port traffic. It will not allow the 80 traffic, right? HTTP. What we have to do is we have to create one more rule like this. 80. And here I can say anywhere. Anywhere means that which is nothing but 0000. Why anywhere? Because the website must be accessible from anywhere. You cannot ask everybody to come to your office to access the website. What if your website is running on HTTPS protocol? So you have to write this also. So you have to remember that if you are hosting a website, you have to open 80 and 443 ports from anywhere across the globe. This is a mandatory. But our website, we are hosting on 80. So this is enough. But in general, whenever you are hosting any website on your EC2 instance, whether it's a Linux or Windows, that doesn't matter. You have to open these two ports. You have to create these two rules. So now what we have to do? First, we have to modify our security group. Otherwise, it will not work. The website is not accessible. Okay. Right. So So no need to open the 22 port from anywhere. You can keep that as a my IP also, because we don't allow everybody to log into your Linux instance. What we allow, we only allow the people to access the website on 80 port or 443 port. We don't allow everybody to log into our Linux instance using SSH. Okay. So we have to create these two rules in the existing security group, or you can create a new security group and you can attach this security group also. So what we do is, the next step, create a new security group and let us name it as web server, and add the below rules. So you can ignore this top one. Below these rules in inbound rules, not the outbound. By default, all the outbound traffic will be allowed. No need to write any rules for the outbound traffic. The default behavior of the outbound traffic is, by default, it will be allowed. So we will add these two rules and the security group will be this one, right? And then what we have to do? Attach the security group called web server to the Linux instance. Now the question is, can we attach multiple security groups to the single EC2 instance? Can we attach multiple security groups to the single EC2 instance? Yes, you can. Otherwise, if I remove the old security group and if I add the new security group, this will allow the website access, but it will not allow the remote login to the Linux computer, right? So here the thing is, EC2 instances can be attached with multiple security groups. So you can add multiple security groups. So once you create this security group and once you add it, automatically your EC2 instance website will be accessible, because the security group will allow all the HTTP and HTTPS traffic from anywhere across the globe, and we can log in. So now already we are done up to here, website hosting. Now we need to create a new security group. We need to create a new security group with these two inbound rules. Once we create these two inbound rules, we will attach that security group to the existing EC2 instance. So we will see how can we attach a security group to an existing EC2 instance. Because as of now, we have seen how to attach the security group to the EC2 instance at the time of creation only. Now we can change the security groups at any time. And for that, no need to shut down the EC2 instance also. While the instance is running, you can modify all the security group rules. You can remove the existing security group and you can attach a new security group. Any kind of things, we can do that. Okay. So now first we have to create the security group, right? So to create the security group, first go to your EC2 service. On the left side, click on security groups under network and security. Network and security, click on security groups. Then click on create security group. So security group name, I will say web server. Description, you can write any description, that doesn't matter. Web server, or I can say allows HTTP and HTTPS traffic, just for identification purpose. Then in the inbound rules, here the question is, by default, if you create a new security group, by default, what inbound rules will be available. No inbound rules in a newly created security group by default, right? And what about the outbound rules in the newly created security group by default? It will allow all traffic from anywhere, like destination will be anywhere. Like from that EC2 instance, you can access any website. Like if I open a browser in the Linux computer, just for example, or by use some CLI to access the website, you can use some command like wget or curl or something to access the website, right? If you use that, there will be no restriction. From the EC2 instance, you can communicate with any server. Inbound, there will be no incoming traffic allowed by default in a newly created security group. So click on add rule under inbound rules. First, what is the type of the traffic we have to allow? HTTP. Automatically, the port range will be selected. From the source, you can select anywhere IP version 4 and click on add rule. Then the next one is HTTPS. Select anywhere IP version 4, or even you can add anywhere IP version 6 also. Like you have to click on one more add rule and you can type HTTP. And here you can select anywhere IP version 6. This indicates all IP versions of the IP version 6. Because there is a new version called IP version 6, but as of now, no one is using IP version 6 alone. They are using the combination of IP version 4 and IP version 6. So this is not required, but just if you would like to add for practice, you can add that. That means we can accept the traffic from anywhere across the globe from all IP version 4 addresses and all IP version 6 addresses. Okay, this will allow HTTP traffic from anywhere from the IP version 4, and this will allow HTTP traffic from anywhere from IP version 6 addresses. Okay, now just scroll down and click on create security group. But here you can see there is one option called tags, right? Let us add a tag also. What is the use of a tag? Identification purpose. Okay, click on create security group. The security group got created. And let me go back to the security groups. So this is the tag. The remaining security groups were created without any tag. That's why you can see blank. And this is the one which we created using the tag called name. So easy to identify. Or otherwise you have to identify using the security group name. Okay, so we created our security group. Now we need to attach this security group to an existing EC2 instance without removing existing security groups on that EC2 instance, right? Okay, so here click on instances. Select your EC2 instance to which you would like to attach that security group. Click on actions. Click on actions, security, then change security groups. And now here, click on this one. This empty box is there, right? Already, this EC2 instance is having one security group called Linux space SSH. So in this box, click on that and select the web server. Click on add security group. Now 2 got added. Click on save. So now this Linux EC2 instance is having 2 security groups. One security group will allow 22 port from my IP address. The second security group will allow 80 and 443 traffic from anywhere across the globe. Let me refresh. So now you can see that. So if you are able to design some kind of CSS and everything, then you can see the actual website. You can use all the CSS and everything. Or if you have some website, you can upload that website also. But for an upload, you cannot directly copy paste, right? You have to use a tool called WinSCP. Like to upload any data from Windows to Linux. My laptop is a Windows machine, right? And if I would like to upload the data to the Linux computer, we have to use a tool called WinSCP. Somewhere I have it. Okay, it seems I don't have. There is a software called WinSCP. by using which you can upload the data to the Linux computers from the Windows machines. There is a free tool, WinSCP, secure copy. You can copy the files from Windows to Linux machines. Like this, there are different tools available, but this is the most popular one. Okay. Right. So this is how you can. Okay. Now, anybody can access the website using that particular IP address. Any website will be hosted using the public IP. So now, do you guys know any challenge with this? Is there any issues or something? Anybody can access this website. Now, what I do is, I will stop. Okay, so now I can say that my website is running, and to everybody, I will give my IP address so that they can access my website. Now, due to some reason, just I stop my EC2 instance and I will start my EC2 instance. What will happen? IP address will change, and whatever the IP address I have given, that is not useful to access the website. In this kind of a situations, we must require fixed public IP address, like the public IP address, which will not change even if you stop and start, right? So in these kind of a situations, we have to use elastic IP address. We will start it, and then we will confirm that the IP address got changed, because this is the old IP address, which is 3.81.65.229. Okay, let me copy this. This is the old IP. So it got, still it is getting stopping. So to avoid these kind of a situations, we have to use the elastic IP, right? So how to assign an elastic IP? Like we need to assign the elastic IP to your EC2 instance, right? How can we assign? To assign the elastic IP address, first you must have an elastic IP address in your account. Without having an elastic IP address, you cannot connect that to your EC2 instance, right? Okay, we will see all the steps, how to get the elastic IP, how to allocate, how to associate it, and all the things. Before that, let me start our EC2 instance, and we can check that we got a new IP address, and the old IP will not work because there is no website running on this particular IP address. Even we don't know where is this IP address also. So we need a fixed public IP address which will not change even if you stop and start the EC2 instance, right? Okay. So now what we have to do is attach, or I can say use elastic IP address for the Linux EC2 instance. So here there are different steps. The first step will be allocate the elastic IP address. What is the meaning of allocate? Amazon will allocate you one elastic IP address for your account. Once you got that IP address, you have to associate the elastic IP address to the EC2 instance. Then your EC2 instance will get that fixed public IP address called elastic IP address. EIP stands for elastic IP address. And what will happen if I delete the EC2 instance later? Still, elastic IP address will be in your account. Here, the problem with the elastic IP address is elastic IP address is free to use if the IP address associated with any instance. If you don't associate, and I can say if we kept the elastic IP address unallocated, then after 1 hour, the EIP is chargeable. If you don't use the elastic IP address, like if you don't associate and if you keep that unallocated, then you will be charged after the first 1 hour. Even if you don't associate, the first 1 hour is a free. So I think I should not use unallocated. If we keep the elastic IP address without associating, unallocation means there's a different word which will give the wrong meaning. Just use without associating, not with, without associating. Then after first hour, the elastic IP address is chargeable. So always you have to associate the elastic IP address. If you don't need the elastic IP address, don't keep it unassociated. You have to release it. What is the meaning of a release? We will give back that elastic IP address back to Amazon. So you will not be charged for that elastic IP address anymore. And we have one thing called, I can say that by default, we can get 5 elastic IP address per region, which is a soft limit. What is the meaning of a soft limit? We can get maximum 5 elastic IP address per region, and that is a soft limit. What is the meaning of a soft limit? Soft limits can be increased by creating an Amazon ticket, support ticket. Okay. Right. So quickly, let us use the elastic IP address. Let us allocate the elastic IP address and let us associate it. And then we will see how to disassociate and how to release also. Okay. So for that, just go to your EC2 service, because that is also a part of EC2 service. Navigate to EC2 service. And if you scroll down to the network and security, you can see there is one option called elastic IPs. Click on the elastic IPs. And I don't have any elastic IP address in the Northern Virginia region. So here there is one option called allocate elastic IP address. Click on allocate elastic IP address and just give some tag here just for identification purpose. I can say web server or a website. Just give some tag. No need to change anything. Just give some tag, or without tag also you can create. Click on allocate. So the IP address got allocated at 7:17 p.m. Right now the time is 7:17 p.m. Till 8:18 p.m. or 8:17 p.m. I can keep like this. I will not be charged. If I don't associate after 8:17 p.m., then this elastic IP address is chargeable. Okay. So now we got elastic IP address in our Amazon account. And what is the IP address? 3.88 something is there. This is the one. And now we need to associate this IP address to your EC2 instance. Select the elastic IP address. Click on actions. Associate elastic IP address. And to which instance you would like to associate. Select that one and click on associate. Now your EC2 instance got associated with this particular elastic IP address. You can refresh to check the new IP. You can see the new IP got assigned. How can we identify whether it is a public IP or elastic IP? If you scroll down, you can see it is an elastic IP. If you don't use elastic IP, here you can see blank. Right? Okay. So now this is the IP address which can be used to access the website. So how many times you can stop and start? That elastic IP address will be with that EC2 instance only. But before deleting that EC2 instance, you have to remove that elastic IP address from your account. Otherwise, you will be charged. So while you are doing the practical, what you have to do is, after associating, just stop and start the EC2 instance multiple times. stop and start the EC2 instance to check that the elastic IP address won't change. That you guys can check while you're doing the practical, but that will not change anymore. That will be a fixed one. So now what we have to do is, before we have to delete the EC2 instance after the practical, right? To avoid the charges, first we have to do disassociate, or I can say terminate the Linux EC2 instance. But before terminating that, the first step will be disassociate the elastic IP address from the EC2 instance, and still you're chargeable because still you are having that elastic IP address in your account. Then we need to release the elastic IP address from AWS account. Then terminate the Linux EC2 instance. Then the elastic IP address will be permanently removed from your Amazon account, and you will not be charged for that elastic IP address. Okay, right. So now let us see how to do that. So go to your EC2 service. Go to your EC2 service. And then just go to the elastic IPs under network and security. So this is the elastic IP, right? Right now, it is associated with some EC2 instance. So how to check that? Here you can see to this particular EC2 instance, this elastic IP address got associated. So now what we have to do is select the elastic IP address, click on actions, and you don't get the release option because it is associated with your EC2 instance. So first we have to click on disassociate. Click on disassociate. The IP address will be disassociated from your Amazon account. And the moment once you disassociate, Amazon will start calculating that particular hours, like how many minutes you have kept that idle. So then you will be about to charge after 60 minutes. So now we need to release it, right? Select the EC2 instance, click on actions, and click on release elastic IP address. So there is no elastic IP. Now, what will happen to your EC2 instance? Because we removed the elastic IP, right? So automatically a normal public IP address will be assigned. That I will show you. Refresh. So one random public IP will be assigned automatically. See here. Whenever you remove the elastic IP, automatically the random public IP will be assigned. Okay, now it's time to terminate. So how to terminate any EC2 instance? Select the instance, go to instance state and terminate instance. Okay, but I don't want to terminate it. I will stop it because for the tomorrow session also, I would like to use the same EC2 instance. That's why I will stop it. Okay, so this is how you can install a website or a web server and host a website. And this is how you can use the elastic IP address. Okay, right. So as of now, are you guys clear or any questions? Okay, so if you guys are clear, you guys can leave. Okay, so tomorrow we can continue with custom AMI and how to create the spot instances and reserved instances. We don't create the reserved instance because we need to give the commitment. So just I will show you the steps how to create the reserved instances. Okay, right. Thank you, everyone. And if you have any questions, just you can come like 15-20 minutes early for the tomorrow's session so that you can check with your questions and all the things.